All right, everyone, welcome to today's group call. This is going to be absolutely incredible. And right here on the line, I've got Ross Christofoli. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, Christopoli, and I'm just pulling up here
I've been following you for actually quite a long time, probably about a year. I've just seen your name around in the digital marketing community, and you look like someone who is like just incredibly, how do I put it, incredibly like certain and confident in the value that you are able to provide to
I
people like
appreciate that, man.
people who are watching. Yeah, absolutely.
I you know what? I've been just having fun doing my thing, grinding and networking with people, and it's been really paying off, just kind of enjoying the journey. I haven't been one of those people where like I was on this mission to hit $10 million or whatever. Like I was like quick, like that's my goal, but it wasn't to do it like tomorrow. And so
Yeah,
I've just been enjoying the whole way, and it's been fun trying to grow my business and scale and see where it goes.
that's incredible. I love that mindset too. I think a
Yeah,
lot of people,
I think too many of us like get into that habit of like, wanting to be that overnight success story, but there's really not an overnight success story. Like if you dig into it, the people who did get that success, it took them a while to nail it. And then once it happened, it felt like it happened overnight, but it takes a long time sharpening those skills.
awesome. Okay, so everyone who's watching right now, kind of one of the reasons why I reached out to Ross and why I wanted to bring him on here for you today is because he has not only had some incredible successes and incredible wins for himself, but he's also really, really good at coaching people and teaching people how to hit not just 6, but even 7 figures. So Ross, would you please share a little bit about how you've been able to do that and kind of like what your
Yeah.
process is like?
Yeah, so for me, I can't take full credit, obviously, on anyone who's ever hit 6 or 7 figures on their own. And the reason for that is because it takes a lot of the entrepreneur themselves. So like they have to be the right kind of person who's going to crush it. And I like to view myself as a stepping stone in their path to success. I hope to give them enough golden nuggets and help give them enough clarity so that way they can hit that. But I definitely don't want to take full credit for it. And the reason for that is usually most of the people that you'll find who hit 6, 7 figures, they're learning multiple different avenues and multiple things from multiple people. So like I stay very focused in what I can help someone with. Like for instance, I'm not going to teach them how to go do a bot. Even though I run a lot of my own Facebook ad campaigns and all my own funnels, I typically don't teach that stuff either because I feel like there's probably not enough that I'm bringing to the table on that's different than what half the market's teaching, because I've seen what half the market's teaching and I know, hey, someone else will probably teach this over the shoulder tech part a little better than I would anyways. So I help them very much with 2 different things that we focus on. And before I'll explain what they are, and then I'll explain how I came to those. But the first one is time, figuring out how to make the best use of their time while they're, whatever their goal is. It doesn't matter what your company is. If you're an agency owner, software company, like I don't care what you do. And this is the most overlooked thing that people, oh, that's a fluff, whatever. I don't need to know that right now. I just need to know how to land a client, whatever. And I'm going to explain in a minute why that is bad thinking. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is just crafting a unique message that penetrates an audience for you. So that way you can blue ocean what you're doing, regardless of if what you're doing is a blue ocean or not. I have a saying, people go, oh, I don't want to go after that niche. It seems oversaturated. There's no such thing as an oversaturated market, only oversaturated offers. The people are the same. The offer just has to change up, So I want to give you guys a little backstory on how I came up with the methods that I use, because there's enough overnight success stories that I want to let you know this is not one of those. So the way that I even started my agency, it goes back to when I was 17 and a half, 18 years old. I'm 28 now. I'll be 29 this year. And I opened a guitar shop when I was 17 and a half. So I got a small loan from my parents of $1 million, no, of $2,000. And I started hustling, flipping some guitars until I had enough guitars to fill the walls of a small store downtown West Bend. And I opened a guitar shop. I was teaching lessons, selling instruments, things like that. It was my first real experience in entrepreneurship, and I was trying to do almost everything myself. But I did have people teaching lessons for me. And I started getting the idea at this point that I could scale time, because if I just sat there and taught guitar lessons myself, I could only make $18 an hour. But if I had several people teaching in different rooms, I wouldn't have to be doing all that work, and I could still make money off of them. I just had to facilitate it, get people in the door and get them a space. And then 2 years later, after I owned that guitar shop, I got so sick of like just kids and teaching kids. And I was horrible at managing the back end of business, like just awful, that I had nothing to sell, even though we had revenue, and I was just done with it. So I just closed down the store. I was like,
oh man,
liquidation, we're selling everything, I'm done with this. And, you know, at 17 and a half, 18, to do that for 2 years, it was a great learning experience. It was fun, whatever. So then about a year later, and during that time I had gotten into like fixing phones and stuff, you know, for people repairing their screens. And what I was doing is for about a year, I would strap up two like duffel bags with just cell phone and iPad parts. And I would walk through all the booths in the mall saying to those guys, hey, do you have any repairs that you need done? Do you have any repairs? Oh, yeah, yeah. And they'd all pull out these devices. And I would walk out of that mall with, after being there all day, with like $2,500. And I was like, this is amazing, because, you know, I'd fix 25 devices, charge them $100, and, you know, it was great. Well, I did that for so long, and then I started realizing, like, I need to change something if I ever want to keep growing, because I'm going to them and it's sucking up my time. So I got a location. I actually had a business partner. That partnership failed drastically, really bad. And it caused the business to have ups and downs, but we had a store that was bringing in revenue. And about 2 years in, I decided I'm going to open a secondary location. So I open up this secondary location and it tanks. Like, I have people stealing from me. We went like negative $60,000, if not more, in life. Like, it was just awful. So I get involved in one of these shark loans where they take like $200 a day out of your bank account or something like that, Monday through Friday, until it's paid back plus interest.
Wow.
It was awful. And so I had to fire everyone, grind for a year doing that. And then I hired a guy, and it was right around that time that I'm just like exhausted. I'm like, I'm done running a brick and mortar business. And I also got diagnosed with a spinal cord disease. And it was because I was falling. Like, I'd be walking and you just hit the ground. Like, you just lose your legs falling, arms, mobility issues, things like that. So they're doing testing. They're figuring this stuff out, and they find out I have a spinal cord disease called syringomelia. So I was like, I can't stand anymore for 9-10 hours a day working in retail, fixing devices. So I was fortunate enough to sell the store to that employee who had a very rich father for $25,000, which wasn't very much, because after paying off all my revolving expenses, I had like $3,000 in my name. So I'm like, okay, my wife doesn't work. I have a 9-month-old son. We have $3,000 to our name and no income. What can I do to start bringing in money? And I was kind of working with a guy doing like web design for him, but he just wasn't selling anything. Like, he couldn't seem to get any business going. So I broke off from that because I started seeing these ads talking about running a Facebook ad agency. And at first I was like, it makes sense to me, but I don't know if this is legit. I mean, but then you start getting hit by all the testimonials of people who are doing it. I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this. So I talked to my wife. She's like, so let me get this right. You want to spend $1,000 out of the $3,000 that we have and put it into a course, and we don't know if you're going to make any money on the back end of it. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. And so she was like, okay. So I buy this course, and dude, I was so upset because I get into it. I'm not going to say which program it was, but I get into this program and it was like, wah, wah, wah.
Oh man.
Like, I only saw like 2% of the success stories. Everybody else in there was broke. Nobody else was making money. They were not complaining because they were fanboys of this person doing it, but it was still like, what is going on in here? Why is everyone so happy to not be making money? And for me, I didn't join this thing because I was a part of anyone's culture. It was because I needed to make money for my family. So like, I had a different take on this thing. So I was like, I went through the program. In full transparency, I got a couple golden nuggets when it came to like Facebook ad targeting, but I didn't have the guts to tell my wife the program sucked. And so what I ended up doing was just cold calling until I started getting clients. And I don't recommend people start doing that unless they're in a really, really bad spot. And I'll explain why in a minute. But I was cold calling and building digital assets. So month one, I broke over $10,000, and most people don't do that in month one. That was by landing 4 clients and upselling them on websites. I also don't recommend doing that either, because websites are a pain in the butt and they suck up a really bunch of your time. But so that's what I did. Second month, I doubled it. And so I'm really starting to gain traction in my agency, and I'm doing all this cold calling because that's like how I'm landing clients. And 4 months into it or so, like my agency is cooking. And so people started seeing that from the group, and they're like, Ross, can you teach us what you're doing? I'm like, listen, I've only been an agency owner for 4 months. Like, I'd feel stupid to start trying to teach you agency stuff right now, but I will teach you how to like cold call and land clients, because I've been selling for God knows how long. By this point, I'm 8 years into entrepreneurship. I had done cold calling for other companies and stuff, so I knew what to do. So it's like, I can teach you that portion of agency. I can't teach you the rest of the stuff because I'm only one chapter ahead on it. And so they're like, no, that's fine. Just teach us that. So I started teaching people the method that I was using. It was so funny because people are starting landing clients at the time. And I still don't think this is a bad option. I would start off doing free trials for people. So I did a 7-day free trial, or 10 leads. I never did too many. If you go too long, it doesn't work. I had a very specific system. So like they had to already be spending money on advertising. They already had to be doing specific things in their business for me to offer them that free trial. Mm-hmm. So I had some pre-qualifications. Okay. And I didn't have the money and I was paying for the ad spend for those free trials. Wow. I didn't have the money for it, but the reason I did it is because I didn't want them to know my cost. So like if I'm like, hey, it's $100 for a trial, and then I get them great results, and they're like, okay, you're gonna spend $400 a month on this. Like, why am I paying you $3,500? Like I knew that wouldn't register with people. So I was paying the ad spend, but what I was doing is I was using Facebook Ads Manager as like a credit system, because I knew like it would be a week or two before that ad account money was going to come out of my bank account.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
So I would like literally like finance their trial through Facebook Ads Manager, which is a dangerous game. Like, I'm not recommending people do that if they want to take that risk. I did it and it worked really well for me. But, offering free work is, in my opinion, if you don't have business and you're trying to gain traction, one of the quickest, easiest ways to get yourself going. You always get that guru's like, oh, I don't work for free, blah, 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 blah. Dude, there are mass amounts of benefit. Most of those people don't remember what it was like back then. And in full transparency, I'm starting to lose some of that myself. Like, I find myself getting in sometimes the same mindset of, well, why would I do that for free? On specific things, because I'm so busy in my business. But if I go back to my mindset then, and for most people who are starting out, it's just so many benefits of it. Like, if someone's listening to this right now and they're struggling to get traction, go work for free for a little bit. And the reason for it is you're going to gain confidence in what you do. Like, for so many people are like, I help dentists get patients or whatever it might be, but they've never actually done that. They just are saying they do that. All it takes is doing it once for someone, and you're like, oh, that's actually what I do. And you feel like you're no longer just saying it. You actually feel like you do that because you have a clear path. You know what to do on that. So there's so many benefits. And also, like, when you're working for free, you permeate success. So people would be like, hey, Ross, how you doing? Is it busy? And I'd be like, I'm busy as heck, for like that first 2 weeks. And I just hadn't made tons and tons of money yet because I was still running my trials my first 2 weeks. But then people could smell like he's onto something, and they just wanted to be a part of it. Now, if you've been going at it for a while and you can get results and you're confident in your work, you really don't need to offer trials. It's not like, oh, that's the only way to grow an agency. In fact, in my inner circle sales team training, we don't typically offer any trials unless somebody has never in their life gotten results for anyone. And then there's very rare instances that will say, okay, let's offer a trial to get a testimonial and to try to, get that stuff going. And there's nothing wrong with that to gain more traction. So anyways, I'm doing that and I'm crushing it. And then 7 months into the business, like, I think we're at like maybe 35 clients right around this time. Well, I shouldn't say it's just me at this point doing everything. And wow. I like hit a wall. Like, I felt like one of those crash test cars hitting a wall. And the reason for it was I was burning up my energy. I was doing everything myself, all the prospecting, all the ads, all of the relationship management, and I couldn't breathe. But the thing is nobody was teaching you how to do any other different model in agency. And no one really was until, people started seeing greater success. So here's what happens. people typically get to $10,000-$20,000 a month and they quit and they go sell a course on how to grow an agency. But they never actually broke past those things because they realized it sucked. Like they realized having that many clients, if they ever even got that, if they're actually legit and they're not faking it, if they ever actually got that, they realized having that many clients is miserable. So like, I truly don't believe you or I or anyone else starts an agency for the most part because we just love sitting behind an ads manager, working with people who are telling us this phone number didn't work and all of the headaches and stuff that can come along with agency. That's not why we started it. We started it because we wanted it to be some sort of revenue engine that would fuel our dreams and things that we wanted to do. But most people never even get to that part. But what happens is they start doing all this manual work, cold emailing, cold calling, LinkedIn prospecting themselves, Facebook messages. They're doing all these different things. They're not landing clients. And if they do, they're burning themselves out. For me, I hit the wall as a successful agency owner. Other people, their wall is one client. Like they never even get there. If you look at all the things that it really takes to run a successful, sustainable agency, it is nearly physically impossible for one person to do it all. And I came to this conclusion when I was 7 months in, we were on vacation and I'm sitting on my laptop at the beach in Miami and my family's playing in the pool. And I realized, like, I took a picture thinking I was like this cool guy working by the pool, you know, and then it hit me. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm so tied to my business that I can't even get away from it to go sit in the swimming pool with my son for a little bit. Like some people are legitimately, they live near the beach and they can go work and do that. And I probably would too from my laptop if I could. So I'm not saying everyone's a fake, but what I'm saying is a lot of times, next time you see somebody doing that, you got to ask yourself, is it because that's legitimately just how they work? Or are they so tied to their freaking business that it doesn't exist without them doing that?
Yeah,
It's an
that's
interesting
hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's not hilarious, but like,
well,
the way that
it's
you
funny in many ways because we don't think about it until we're in it.
Yep.
And so what most of your audience probably doesn't even realize, because 98% of people are failing or heading towards the failure. And I don't mean that to not build belief. I'm going to build belief on the back end of this thing, is that if they actually succeed in what they're doing, if they go down that path, they failed. Meaning they're going to be miserable. If they actually ever hit $20,000, $30,000 a month in their agency doing what they're doing, they'll be miserable. It's just how it is. And so I really started making a lot of changes, and it came because that night my wife kind of confronted me. We were at my in-laws. I remember this very clearly. We're at my in-laws in the guest room, and she's like, Ross, you've dug us out of debt. We don't have to worry about money anymore. Like, you've done all these things. I appreciate it. But I think you're sacrificing the wrong things. She's like, because you're here, but you're not here. And I think almost every entrepreneur, especially ones with a family, have been there where they're sitting on the couch with their spouse and maybe they're on their phone or whatever. And it's like they are with their family, but they're not emotionally connected. Like they're not enjoying the moment. And I literally dropped to my knees that night because I see my son sleeping in the bed. I see his little back going up and down, breathing in the blankets. And I'm crying my eyes out because I realized like my life just blurred for the first 7 months of his life. Like I was there, but I wasn't there. He doesn't know it, but I wasn't emotionally connected and I couldn't get it back. I realized that 7 months was gone and I'll never get it back. And I was determined, like, I am not going to let this be the next 17 years of this kid's life, is dad working all the time. Because when it comes down to it, people talk about their legacy they leave behind. I don't want my son to say my dad made a lot of money and he was a great agency owner. I just want him to say my dad was there. That's all I care about. And so I'm every single night I have to soak my spine because I have issues. So that night I'm laying in my in-laws' huge bathtub that only fills up 2 inches of water because they put the drain way too low on it. And I'm laying there thinking, and I'm listening to podcasts, and I hear Russell Brunson talking about the who, not the how. And my wheels are turning because I'm like, how can I do this? Because I've got this successful agency, but how can I don't want to break it apart. Like, this is the first time in my life I've ever been ahead of the ball, not behind the ball. How can I do this? And so I started sketching out what that would look like. I think I might have an image if you guys want to see it. I started sketching out like what this would look like if I was going to ever turn this into a model. And because in my mind, I was thinking, if I can just scale time, like if that's it, if I could just scale time, well, then all of this would be irrelevant.
Yeah.
If I could get other people to do things for me, and I'm going to give some really practical tips for people on how they can really start getting people to do things for them, even if they don't have the financial means to right now. So, okay, I found the picture here. So this was basically what the end result ended up looking like. I would have 5 cold callers making 3 to 5 appointments per day. And then I, at the time, was the closer. I'd hop on the calls, close the sales calls.
Mhm.
We do 2 call closes, and then I'd pass it off to a fulfillment team. Like, this is my simple sketch. I would scale it out this way. This is how I could, and this is what we've been able to do. And the idea is that you're creating like these little pods. And I can now scale my time. But what a lot of people end up doing is they start trying to go to things like they start trying to go to like these Fiverr sites and get cold callers or Upwork or, offshore. And I tried that too. But and they'll fill your schedule with appointments, but none of them will hardly know you're calling. Like, they'll be really crappy quality appointments.
Mhm.
And so what had ended up happening for me is I was talking to this lady, and she was telling me about how she does medical transcription. It took her a long time to find this stay-at-home job.
Mhm.
And I thought, that's it. So I got moms to start calling for me. So I completely built out a system that would hire, recruit, and train moms on autopilot. And it worked really, really good. We generate, anywhere from 10 to 20 appointments a day just with these moms cold calling for us. And these people know we're calling. So my end result was now I have people setting appointments for us, closing those appointments, and then handing it off to my fulfillment team. And so what that's allowed me to do is step back and work on my business and not in my business. It took me a long time to figure out all those little intricate steps to doing that and making that work. And so really what I've started to do as I help people is I look at their business and I say, what are they doing that they don't need to be doing? What manual tasks? And then I figure out, how can we slowly back them out of that? Because you have to back yourself out. You can't just step out because otherwise everything stops.
Yeah.
And so here's some tips that I'm going to give your audience for if they really want to make this happen and they really want to start crushing it, what they need to do. They have to understand that there's opportunity brings good people. So like people will be like, I can't get a good closer, but all they did was went on their Facebook and said, looking for a high ticket closer. It's like, that's not going to work.
Mhm.
You might get somebody, but most of the people responding to that are broke. And they're just thinking, hey, here's an opportunity to sit on, see what someone else is doing. Also, the mindset behind that is most agency owners, they can't generate their own appointments anyway. So they're like, well, maybe someone else can do it and I can't. So the first step is you have to learn how to facilitate all of this. You have to learn how to bring the puzzle pieces together so that way, as you're bringing in team members, you're not asking them to solve the whole puzzle. You just need them to be a piece of that puzzle.
Okay, got it.
I'll give you this example. If you're looking for a closer who's good and you don't have the funds right now to pay them a salary, then you have another option. You can have 10 to 20 high quality appointments for them daily with a really good commission structure of like 25% of the profits reoccurring.
Mhm.
And you will get a good closer who sees the opportunity in that, because they're like, yeah, I'll take you 10 to 20 appointments. Yeah, I don't need the salary. I can close those. If they're a legitimate closer, they're going to think that way. Like, I'd make more on this commission structure than the salary.
Right.
Same thing with appointment centers. People will get an appointment center and they'll just be like, oh, go Google chiropractors. Like, no, build them territories, like give them structure. You provide them tools, structure, things that are going to make them feel as if they're a part of a real company, and they will make those calls for you. If it's all about opportunity. I just had a funny experience with this. So you might have seen I have an event coming up called CarrotCon in October.
Oh, that's awesome. And this is related to your new software?
Yeah, related to my new software. So we decided about 4 weeks ago to hold it in Chicago. We're going to do this event called CarrotCon. And we were like, how can we make this the coolest freaking event in the world? So we're like, what we'll do, because it holds 500 to 800 people, this venue. We're like, that's a lot of freaking people. So I'm like, here's what I need to do. I need to find influencers who would like to speak, but can get about 50 of their own audience members to come, and then we can fill it up. And we've been doing that successfully. We've already sold over 250 tickets, and it's not even been the first month. But at first, when we start reaching out to people, they're like, we want to get paid for this event. Well, here's the thing. LeadCare is a startup. LeadCare right now breaks even every month for the last year because we have developers. We have, right now we're at 4 full-time developers plus my business partner who's our senior developer. And then we have all the advertising, all the things. LeadCare just breaks even. If not, maybe I fund a loss because I've been paying for all the marketing out of my own pocket for the last year out of it. So we're like, we can't really afford to bring all these people in. So how can we create enough opportunity so that way LeadCare can afford that? So we hired Damon John from Shark Tank as our keynote speaker. It's cheaper for us to spend $75,000 to get him to speak as keynote on our event. And now all these other people want to coming to us. Yeah, I'll speak for free just because they want to be on the same stage as Damon John.
Gotcha.
And so
I love how you think, by the way. Like, I
appreciate that. So if we create opportunity, the good people will come. And that's what we've done. And that's what ended up happening. Same thing with your agency. If you create enough opportunity, good people will follow because they can see like this works. So master those pieces of the puzzles, get all the stuff together and become the facilitator, because the guy working in his business does not make as much money as the guy working on his business. Even if the revenue is higher, he's not making as much money because he's trading his time for it. And when you trade your time for money, it's like, you can't even compare. I'd rather be a guy who only makes, say, 30 grand a month and not have to do as much, rather than be a guy who's making 75 grand a month, but he's so tied down to his business.
Right.
You know? And so by doing this, we've helped so many people hit 6 figures and 7 figures now in their agency. I can't count it anymore because the problem is now people come back to me 5 months later who I haven't talked to in a while. And they'll be like, dude, I just want to thank you. I just hit my first 7 figures, or dude, I just got a $60,000 check, or and it's like, there comes a point where you can't really keep track of all the good stuff that you got going on.
Right.
People who are in it can feel it. They can see it all going around them, but it's just been a lot of fun. And so even people think though, and this is one of their hurdles, they think, well, right now I just need to get one client. I just need to, and if I just get that, I can do the rest. But the problem is this: you get into a vicious cycle. You start, because you land your one client and now you got to get them results. So you stopped prospecting. Yeah. And so because you stopped prospecting, now all of a sudden you're trying to get this guy results. And what if it's your first time and you fail with this guy? Well, guess where you're at now? You're back to stage 1 where you were a month ago, 2 months ago. Like, you have to always be, your agency has to always be prospecting and closing and fulfillment. Now, I say from my personal experience, I would rather be on the front end of a sale than the back end. Because when we first start our businesses, it's always fun. Like, oh, I'm going to go run these campaigns, and it's exciting because it's new to us. But that wears off really, really quick. And it's the same thing. Like when I first started my cell phone business, I love digging apart and taking apart these electronics and pieces and then putting them all back together. Like, it was fun. After 2 years of that, I hated it. And I had other people doing it for me. And so what most people do is they spend the first year trying to learn Facebook ads, funnels, chatbots before they ever implement anything. I need to know it first before I go. No, that's not how you do it. So if you do plan on doing things yourself for a while, how do you buy IKEA furniture? That's what I tell people. Do you call them up and say, hey, I'm going to buy the instructions off you. I'm going to learn how to build that dresser. And once I know how to build it, I'm going to buy the dresser from you. No, you don't. Like, you literally look at the instructions and you build it as you're going. Like, you're following. That's how people need, if they're planning on working in their agency for a little while, that's what they need to do. They need to be implementing as they're going. So that way, even if they don't have all the pieces together, and I can say the personality type who feels like they need to have everything perfect before they actually go build it will inevitably fail. Like, next year I'll be talking to them and they'll still be struggling. Like, we sold over 160 tickets before we ever even had the venue locked down. Like, for our event, like,
that's faith right there.
Yeah. Like, we already had the speaker. So it's like, we knew we were doing it, but like, we knew we were going to be in Chicago somewhere. And it's like, having the mindset of doing things before you have all the pieces together will always help you as long as you don't turn into the fire festival and, like you have a legitimate way of completing your tasks and fulfilling it.
Right.
So I would recommend for anybody that, so they need to create opportunity. They need to start working themselves out of the day-to-day tasks and working on their business. You can't start doing that until you've created the opportunity, though, until you have enough appointments. If you don't want to build out a team of people, well, here's first of all why I recommend people building out a team of cold callers, because you don't pay for appointments that don't show up. So like I pay $15 to a mom if the decision maker actually shows up. So if they make 10 calls in a day and all 10 of those people show up, I pay them $150. You cannot do that with Facebook ads or anything else. Like you can spend money on Facebook ads, and I do. We spend crap ton of money a month using paid advertising now that we have money coming in. But when you're first starting your agency, you can't afford to be paying $100 for an appointment that doesn't show or that doesn't turn into something.
Yeah,
so that's
totally.
why I recommend doing it that way. And I don't know many people generating appointments consistently for a long period of time under $50 to $100 using Facebook ads for their agency. And that's still a really good cost. Like I'm not saying that's bad, but when you're first starting out and you have $1,000 to your name, like,
yeah, it's kind of out of the question.
Exactly. And so that's, there's ways to do that. I would also say for people, they need to zig when other people are zagging. You won't find on my wall me saying I help chiropractors generate new this, because everybody's doing that. I'll find other ways to do that. The secondary thing is in their messaging, they need to be going after the right pain points. Most people start out and they start doing all this make money pain point for business owners. How would you like to make more doing this? And all it does is drag in poor business owners. Like they just don't have the money because you spoke to the pain point of broke people.
Yep.
So speak to a different pain point. You think that you're doing the right thing because you will get traction on the ads or traction on the post, but many of them won't turn into paying clients. If you speak to the pain point of somebody who just needs higher intent leads, or better fulfillment systems or better organization systems, all of that stuff is going to help you bring in people who are actually going to convert.
Absolutely. And I know I'm kind of at that point right now where literally just the past couple sentences that you said, like apply to what I'm thinking about like today in my business. So
what kind of stuff, if I can ask, like what application?
Yeah. So basically for this new coaching program that I'm rolling out, I need to be asking myself, what are the exact questions that are running through my target client's head right now? Like, what are they struggling with right at this point? And I have a couple one-on-one coaching clients who I'm kind of like using them as an example of, the questions that they were struggling with when they came to me. And so I'm kind of trying to, go ahead.
So I have
kind of trying to extrapolate that into the group coaching program.
Yeah, I have a method here that you're going to really love. And hopefully this benefits your audience as well. Because a lot of people have that. So what a lot of marketers do, and you'll notice it's very, very rare that I ever do this. And I'm not saying that this is smarter or whatever, but this is my reasoning behind it, is when they're trying to figure out those pain points, what they do is they go do polls, and they try to, most of the time those polls never work. They suck. People don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. It's almost like Ford said that if they would have asked what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Like, no. Another thing too is that a lot of other marketers are watching your post, and so you're just doing market research for other marketers. I see that nonstop where it's like you can see what another marketer, and then you can see what everybody wanted, and then all of a sudden every other guru starts talking about that thing that they wanted, and it's because somebody else found it out for them. It's kind of like how, and I'm not political at all, but how Trump says that people will be like, we're going to go bomb over there, and then 2 weeks later they've packed up and moved. It's because they knew what they were going to do. It's kind of the same idea with our stuff. So here's what I do to know exactly what pain points to hit on. And this works whether you're in an agency or whether you're in coaching. I just go back. The easiest person to target in the world is yourself. But targeting you before you were you. Because you're just taking people down that path that you were in. So like most people try to describe who's my ideal client. my ideal client is me. I know everything about me. I know my pain points. I know the things I like. I know what kind of toilet paper I want to wipe with. Like, I know everything there is to know about me.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I'm my ideal client. But not me right now, because right now I already know the things I know. I got to go back to where was I 2 years ago before I became me, or where was I 3 years ago before I became me? What was my mindset like? What was I going through? Was I into Forex trading? At one point I was. Like, what all the things have I been doing? And it's funny, in one of my old programs, I used to have a spot where I taught this, and I would show people what I was like, and they would start messaging me like, dude, that's me. Like, I did Forex trading. I did this. I also like that. And I'm like, it works so good when you just target yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You target your own pain points and clarity. And also it speaks to your level of credibility, because it shows that you're not teaching people something you've never done before. You're taking them down a path that you've already been down, and you're taking them through, grabbing them by the hand, saying, hey, I was there 2 to 3 years ago. Let me help you get to where I'm at now much quicker. Because that's what coaching is. Coaching is just speeding up the process of what you've learned.
Right.
And so it's not us teaching something we don't know how to do, or teaching something we've never done. So for me, I can tell you that from bots, there's this point where it's like, you see the benefit, the value, but it's like, there's just no clarity on where should I be using these right now in my business.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we start focusing on clarity, we start hitting on real pain points. So it's funny, with this webinar I'm doing, you just saw one of the slides. It's, we launched this webinar back January 1st. And keep in mind, like, I do this stuff, my coaching and stuff, on the side. I probably only dedicate maybe 15 to 20 hours max a week to it. And that's on the high side. And the reason for it is because I'm running an agency, and I'm running my software company that we're building. Like, I have so many things going.
Mm-hmm.
And even still, I think we've only spent maybe 20 grand in ads since the first. And we've probably brought in about $150,000 of revenue this year already, just in the last 2 months. And it's been through all cold traffic, which has been great. Like, the
For the
majority
coaching program, or?
for my yeah, it's been all. And the reason for it is because I'm hitting on just every single pain point, because I've been down that. Like, I'm telling my story of how I found it. I just told you that story of how I found it.
Yep.
And people are resonating with it. They're like, yeah, this is exactly where I'm at. And they understand, like, and then they're looking at it like, oh crap, I'm doing cold emailing. I'm doing cold call. I'm doing all those things. And he just said, if I actually do those things, I'm going to fail. I'm going to suck at it. Life's going to be awful. Well, I don't want to do it now. And then they go and they get this program, and then they get into it. They realize, wow, this crap actually works, and things take off for them. And so I would recommend for anybody, rather than having to sit there with the yes whatever book and asking all these questions and blah 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 blah, just take them down your path and tell them your story. And I guarantee you, and that's the other thing, so we quit selling $997, we bumped it up to $3,500, and our sales went through the roof. The people who are willing to make that decision at $3,500
Mm-hmm.
rather than $997, it's crazy how decisive they are. And also, they also don't care about refunds or anything. Like, they're just all in. I find when I used to sell a $997 program, like, it was just, you'd get headaches of people. Hey, I don't know if I should have done this, and blah, blah, blah. I actually got to pay rent tomorrow, and I forgot. And it's like, I don't want those kind of people. No offense, but let me give them my free material. I'll let them have, get to a certain point for free, and then get into that. So I'd recommend for anybody who's trying to figure out pain points, just take them down your path. And if it's for your client and you've never been down that path, you can do two things. You can go find somebody and help them, give them results, and then tell their story. Or you can take a case study you already have and tell their story. So when I first met this person, blah, 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 this is where it was at. Think about like how Proactive did their commercials. They took stories of people, and they turned that into a webinar.
That's incredible. Like, you just made it so much easier for me, because I think a lot of people watching right now can probably relate to this, but there's, or maybe you're even going through it right now, but for me, there was one point that I can so clearly remember, like a whole 3 or 4 month stretch where I was like, how do I get clients? Like, how do I get clients? And I was like trying everything, like completely frustrated, and nothing was working. And I just felt such a scarcity mindset and just like fear, like every single day. And then once I figured out the solution and like it actually worked, like I can absolutely remember, and I can, like, with crystal clear clarity, like what it looked like and what it felt like. So it's going to be super easy for me to be able to just kind of go back there and like be able to craft, the exact copy and the exact everything that I need just from that.
And
So
your
thanks.
ability to convey that emotion in that story will directly affect how good of business you do. I recommend people check out that 10X Secrets course that Russell Brunson put out, because he talks about the Hero 2 story. And I would say that that's probably one of the biggest changes that I made in this webinar that's helped the conversion rate drastically. And that's the story I told you earlier about how you were doing something. Like I was running my agency and then something happened and it sent you off onto this journey to find another way. And then when you found your way, this was your end result. And now I'm going to tell you how we did this.
Yep.
And that's really, really, really helped me, to be able to do that and to portray that. So and you can apply that in agency, you can apply that into whatever, but having that into your spiels and into your pitches. And one last thing that I highly recommend anybody does if they're trying to figure out, like, for agency clients or whatever, what's on my client's mind. We're talking about what part of the funnel are they in? And the best message to speak to is the people who are searching for your service. So people who are already looking for it, and then you're just tipping them over the edge into yours. So what I do is I'll go to sites like SpyFu, which look up Google search terms. So, like, are you familiar with SpyFu?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay. So for the audience, so they understand, you go to SpyFu and you type in a website, like your competitor's website, and it tells you like their Google ad stats or their organic search stats, what keywords people are looking for. And I'll look for what it is that people are typing. So like maybe they're like easy to use CRM. Now I just came up with a subject line or a theme to my entire content. I can now talk about easy to use CRM. Now, some people might say, well, CRM, people don't really know what a CRM is. That's true. But if I'm going to run ads to somebody, I can speak to where they're at in the process. So if they understand the word CRM, that means that they're going to be much more inclined to click on this. If they don't know what a CRM is already, what are the chances they're going to click in and make a purchase? Probably not very good. So I would probably create something else for an awareness level campaign for them on that. But if I'm trying to go for those direct conversions, which when you first start your agency, you don't really have the money to focus on awareness. You're trying to go after the people who already know. And that's how you land a high ticket retainer. Like, go after people who already know what leads are. Like they even have systems for how to handle them. Don't go to somebody. That's why I don't like restaurants for a startup, because they're like, why do I need leads? We sell biscuits. Like, they don't understand it. It's fine for marketing, but whatever. You go to somebody like a loan officer. They already have systems for leads. They have money to be able to spend on it. And that's the other thing. Like, don't go after realtors. Like, most of them, like 80% of them are broke. So go after somebody who has money. Most, loan officers who have been around do. They already know what to do with leads. And then you don't have to sell them on why they need leads. You just need to sell them on why yours are better, or not even better, but different or new. A new method.
That's such an incredible mindset to have about it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it'll make the difference in people's marketing as to, what they go after. And people sometimes they get scared because they're like, okay, well, I'm getting extremely narrow. I'm not going as broad, so I might not get as much traction and action. It's true, you won't. But what you do get will be much higher chances of someone actually converting through. And that's one of the things that I think people need to remind themselves. Like, if you're cold emailing, cold calling, whatever, don't call people and say, hey, can you guys handle an extra 8 to 15 new patients? Say to them, hey, would you guys be able to take on, do you guys help people with neuropathy? Yeah, we do. Would you be able to take on an extra 8 to 12 neuropathy patients? Like, get deep and go narrow into what it is exactly that you're looking for. And what happens is now they all of a sudden believe you, because it's not just new patients. It sounds like you have some source for neuropathy patients, but you do. So it's like, when you get precise and you start going deep into your messaging, yes, you do exclude a lot of people, but that's what you want. You're going after someone specific, and you'll get much higher results.
Right. Gosh, that's so, like, I mean, Ross, thank you for sharing that. Like, not even for everyone who's watching, but just for me, that's super helpful for what I'm going through right now. So
Yeah,
really
man.
appreciate that.
Well, I
Yeah, I
appreciate
want
you
to
having
be.
me on here. Is there anything other questions you had?
Yeah,
I
I
know I've
want to
been
be
kind of
respectful.
rambling.
No. I want to be respectful of your time. I totally appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone watching is getting a ton of value from this. But I do want to make sure that you get a chance to share about your new software that is about to be released, and
Yeah.
also tell people where they can get a free trial. Because I actually got you guys, I got a chance to kind of look inside the software, and it solves a very big problem and a very big pain point that I think a lot of us are facing right now.
Yeah, I'll really quick pull it up. So right now, if they go to leadcarrot.io, they're just going to see the software that we've had for the last year, which is a list builder. But I'll give you a real quick view as to what's coming. So we have a CRM, and I call it the only CRM that gives you leads. And the reason for that is because you can literally type in like gyms, Seattle, Washington. It pulls up every gym in Seattle, Washington. And then you just push that into your CRM, which would be like your lead in phase. And here's what's really cool about it. You can set up an automation in this column, which looks like, actually, I don't have that page up. So you have actually, I could probably pull it up. Hey. No, I can't because we don't have that up right now. It times out. So anyways, you can push them into there and set up an automated cold email. So that way, like when you push those leads into there, it automatically sends out your emails. It can also send out voicemail drops, text. I don't recommend doing text messages right now. That'd be scary. Unless someone opts in, never text them.
Yeah.
You can organize all of your leads kind of in a horizontal pipeline view, two-way texting. It'll have email builders, email broadcasting, team management, team chat, so you can be chatting with your team within it, have all of your reporting. And one feature or actually two features that are really, really cool that I think are going to be game changers. You see that little pixel thing right there?
Mm-hmm.
You install that into your funnel,
Okay.
the code, and when people opt in, it'll automatically import them in their opt-in information to your funnel or into your pipeline without needing to zap it, but also it'll drag them to the appropriate page. So each one of these columns could represent a page in your funnel, and it'll just drag that deal right to the page on which they left off, which is really cool because now you can set up specific marketing campaigns for the people based off where they're at within your funnel. And then
Nice. So does this work with ClickFunnels?
yeah, it'll work with ClickFunnels, Survey Gizmo, like any of these form building softwares, it'll work. It's just a code that will, when you hit submit, it grabs the information before that, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
In about 3 months, maybe less, one of the cool features that's going to be sick is that on this column right here, you'll be able to go ahead and type in this same information. Like let's say you go after gyms, you could type in just gyms, and then you come up with an email and you can say, I want 50 a day to go out. And what'll happen is it'll go pull gyms automatically for you and send out emails to 50 of them a day. And then when it runs out of leads, it'll just go pull from a different city and from a different city. So you can literally set up an email campaign on autopilot and not have to, you just set it up, set it and forget it. And it's just going to keep pulling more gyms, sending them an email as they respond, move them over. As it runs out of leads, it'll go get more leads, send that email off, and it'll just be nonstop. You can do the same thing with voicemail drops. So it's just going to be insane how hands-off this makes things for people.
Gosh, I know. Just you talking about it is like.
What's that?
Like just you talking about how much it does and the flexibility and just the automation. Like.
Yeah, it's going to be, and you'll be excited about the fact that we're going to be integrating MiniChat with it.
Oh, no way.
So we're already in
That's
conversations with the founder of MiniChat. So we've been talking with him back and forth a little bit. And so we're going to be directly integrated with them. So that way people can fire off in their automation sequences, have like they get a text and email and then boom, a Facebook Messenger,
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, so there's so much fun stuff here, man. Cool things coming out. Like people should keep their eye on it. Obviously, this is our first year, so we have a big group of betas already taken up, but the software itself will be available for people to start utilizing April 15th.
Okay.
And there will always be your initial glitches here and there when you first get things going. But I know that people who hop in early, they're going to love it because it eliminates the need for Actionetics. We don't charge you more if you have a bigger list. So it's not like you're paying more for more contacts. So that's not happening. It eliminates the need for MailChimp, Aweber, all of that stuff. Technically, you could get away with not even needing Actionetics because you can respond to people based off where they're at in the funnel anyways.
Right.
I can go on to broadcast without having to segment a list. And I can do an email broadcast and say, I want to email everyone in, because you can do multiple pipelines. So that's one of the things that I think's very unique. Let me see if I can pull this up here. So you see, I can do multiple pipelines. I don't have to have just one pipeline. So I can set up several funnels within, this. I can set up multiple pipelines based off who I'm going after. And each one of these can be on a completely different campaign.
Okay.
So it's not so it's just such great possibilities. Yeah, I could shoot an email and be like, I want to email everyone in my cell phone repair pipeline who is waiting on a part, and be like, hey guys, just want to thank you for your patience. Your part is still on the way. Blah blah. You can click here and type in your order number for tracking. Like there's so many uses for that function. In the past, what you would have to do is you'd have to go pull a list of all those people, export them into a CSV, go to your email responder, import them all into your email, and then shoot them all an email saying that. You don't have to, it's all connected. So you can just, it's just so time freeing.
That I know. Gosh, I mean, not that I know, I can see that already.
Yeah.
Quick question that I'm wondering, it looks like it can, but are you able to completely do away with an email service provider?
Absolutely. You won't need any of it. So we do, you do still need a SendGrid or Amazon SES or something like that to connect in with. But you don't need anything like a MailChimp or anything like that.
Right.
We may eventually do something on our own, but the nice thing about companies like Amazon is that right now, at least, you can send a butt ton of emails before you can rotate it. You can rotate your IPs, but you can add multiple servers or email services on this. So it's not like you can only have one SendGrid account. You could have multiple. Right. So that way, if you want to send out more emails a day without burning up an IP, you can do that and figure that all out. As time goes, we'll have a lot more things that are in-house, but to be able to get up and running and launched clean and smooth out of the gate, we're relying on some other things like SendGrid, Twilio, which is now SendGrid, Twilio, they're the same company now, and other companies. But we do plan to have in the future our own messenger bot, our own things. We want to try to make it as in-house as possible.
Right.
The goal is people, especially startup entrepreneurs, they don't have money to spend $97 on this landing page builder, $50 on this, $80 on Actionetics, $20, it all adds up. I'm spending over $1,000 a month right now in monthly subscription services myself. And it's I won't need half that crap once I lock in on this,
Yeah, totally. So Ross, is there anywhere that we can get, that anyone watching, and myself included, can get either signed up for a free trial or maybe on the notifications list for when you release?
Yeah, so if they were to go to, I believe it's launchcarrot.com. Let me just check. So if you go to, no, that's not it. I just set this up last night, so I'm not sure. Launchcarrot.io. I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll have the link down.
Yeah, just go to this one, the lifetime.leadcarrot.io.
Okay.
And if you opt in, what it'll do is, so I'll just opt in like this. I don't care if people know that email, it's a burner anyways. It'll tell you when it's being opened, and then you'll actually like this part. It'll get you on our messenger bot waiting list. So it'll tag you as somebody for the waiting list, and then you'll be able to pop up with that at that time.
Awesome. Perfect. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Ross. This looks incredible, and all the value, just the mindset, not only the mindset, but the practical skills and things that you taught us. I'm incredibly grateful for your time here and with what you shared with us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so is there any way, if people want to reach out or get in touch with you, is there any way that they can do that?
Yeah, I mean, they can go to the, I have a group. I don't know if you care if I put that name in here. It's Agency Secrets for Entrepreneurs.
All right.
They can also go to salesteamsecrets.com and register for one of my future trainings. I typically do one a week. Usually it's on Tuesdays at 2:00 Central. We're not doing this one this week because we've got so much going on here with the lead carrot stuff.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, I'm not in a lot of the I remove myself from a lot of Facebook groups just to have a lot of focus this year.
Yeah.
It's really helped me gain clarity and focus in my business by not being online so much. I'm one of the online guys who's not online that much, and people will be like, but you're posting all the time. And I'm like, those are all automated. Like I'm not posting all of the time. Yeah. So there's too much to do in a day to sit on there all day. So they can follow me on there. I have a YouTube channel and things like that. I do have multiple places. I did just launch a podcast on iTunes
Oh,
that
no way.
I put up the first 2 episodes. If you just go to Lead Carrot Radio,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it is me talking about the journey of us launching this software and what it's taking getting into it and the ups and the downs and just kind of seeing the hustle. For me, it's fun because once you become successful in something, it starts to get kind of boring and content. And so I always I enjoy the journey of it. And so it's kind of fun going back to the phase where no one knows what in the heck this is. And you're calling Chamber of Commerce's and different people, getting people on board with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty fun.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we'll all make sure to check all that stuff out. I'll have the links down below or up above. And yeah, thank you so much, Ross. Really, really appreciate your time. And I know that I personally walked away with a ton of gold nuggets and a ton of action items. So
Awesome,
really
dude.
appreciate you.
Have a good day.
All right, absolutely. And I'll chat with you guys soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks.